Yo, what's up? And welcome back to the More Than 2% podcast. My name is Nicole Stark, and I'm so glad you're joining us today. I don't know how y'all are doing, but I hope you're doing good. I'm telling you, I've had an epic week thus far. It is December 1st. My mind is blown because I can't believe, I think I said this episode too, but I can't believe like we are wrapping up 2021. I was talking to a friend yesterday and I was like, bro, can you believe we're here? Like, I literally feel like I'm still in 2019. Like, I don't believe 2020, though obviously I believe it because I lived through it, but I feel like I don't believe that we're about to go to 2022 and that 2019 is like, so like, is it 2 years ago? Yeah, I can't believe it was 2 years ago. It blows my mind. But anyways, I hope whenever you're listening or watching this podcast that you're doing good. I hope you've had a good week. I hope that Thanksgiving was everything you ever wanted it to be. You know, it's so interesting about my Thanksgiving was our family is so competitive. Like, I don't think you'll ever meet a more competitive family than the Stark family. We are competitive about quite literally everything. We play cards. That's the thing that we do. So whenever you go to my grandma's house, you're always gonna be entertained with a card game. And we play 3 different card games. Yeah, 3, but the top 2 that we play, I'll just tell you 2 of them, is spades. Like the biggest one. Like everyone in my family, well, mostly everyone in my family knows how to play spades. And it's tournament style. It gets epic. It gets crazy. And then the other one is called Shanghai, and I don't know. I like it. It's kind of fun. It's like nostalgia for me when I play. And so anyways, my Thanksgiving was full of victories because I won every card game I played. And so it was really nice. I love like leaving my grandparents' house or any family gatherings knowing I got the dub. You know what I mean? Especially like there's nothing better than beating competitive people. Like when people are just like talking and they're just, you know, telling you they're better and you're not good. Like there's nothing better and more fulfilling, I feel like sometimes in life, than when I walk away from a family gathering event and I've won every single game. In fact, another thing my family and I often do is we play cornhole a lot. Like that is a thing. You go to like a Stark family gathering, right? And there's at least one like cornhole set out and people are like, it's just like tournament style. Everyone's going against everybody, winner stays. And so it's just a funnel thing. So my Thanksgiving was awesome. I loved it. It was super relaxing. Did I watch? Oh, I did. I watched, you know, Hawkeye on Disney Plus. I watched that. I love Marvel. I've actually been recently getting into Marvel lately. I tell people all the time that I could play. Listen, this has nothing to do with anything, but just listen, okay? I feel like because my last name's Stark, like Nicole Stark, I feel like in the new Marvel series, if you're a Marvel person, you should take this idea, okay? Cast me as Tony Stark's daughter because I feel like that really could it could work. Like I already have the last name. I already have it doesn't even matter. No explanation other than that is needed. You should just cast me. And I honestly think that could work. Like I feel like that's it. And so I've never acted in my whole entire life, but who knows? Maybe, you know, I'm going to be in a Marvel film, whoever knows. But anyways, yeah, so we get so competitive and I was watching Hawkeye. I lost my train of thought, but I found it and it was awesome. So it was super, super chill, super relaxing. I really didn't do much. I went to my grandma's house and as soon as I got there, I just like sat on her couch because I got there the night before Thanksgiving. Yeah, me and my sister, we drove. It was super fun, chill. And I just like sat there on the couch and I laid. And to me, there's nothing better than grandma's house. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because I grew up in it and I love it. It just brings back like all my memories growing up. But that's what it is. So anyways, I hope y'all, whoever's watching, had a good one because I love holidays. I love spending time with family and even close friends. And so anywho, can't believe we're in December. It's kind of wild to me, kind of crazy. I'm already doing Christmas shopping. I got 2 presents already. Normally I am like a procrastinator when it comes to like getting Christmas gifts completely early, but this year it's a new thing with Nicole Stark. Okay, I'm trying something called discipline. All right, where it's like I gotta wake up a lot earlier than I'd like. I'm starting to work out again. I used to play basketball and I used to work out all the time, and after I stopped playing basketball, I went on this like 2-year hiatus where quite literally I did whatever the heck I wanted. Like I ate whatever I wanted, I drank whatever I wanted, and it affected me so bad because 2 years later, I felt so disgusted. Anywho, I'm working out again. I know it's crazy, wild, but holidays, it's like it brings that thing in me where it's like I should be a little bit more disciplined. So I'm going into December with that mentality of like, yo, I might as well just finish out the year strong, because there's my basketball coach can't even English, bro. My basketball coach would always say this to me. She would always be like, I actually don't ever think I had a girl basketball coach now that I look back at it. Yeah, anyways, but he would always look at me and he would be like, Nicole, or he would call me Stark. He'd be like, Stark, it's not how you start the game, it's how you finish the game, right? And so, I just started like with this mentality ever since I started playing basketball, where anything I do, I always want to finish strong. I think so many of us are good at starting strong, and I'm including myself in this, by the way, where we're good at starting so I and then somewhere towards like the middle and then the finish line, we kind of just, get comfortable and we halfway through it. And I feel like I'm a firm believer when it comes to like, bro, finish even stronger than the way you started. Like I remember my coach would literally scream at us. Like we would have like 2.5 hour practices, and my coach would do all the hardest stuff towards the end, because he was like, this is what builds you up for like fourth quarter endurance. And so he was always about making sure we were in it to not just win it, but we were in it to last, and we had to finish strong. And so something about December always gets me in this like mindset of like, hey, how am I finishing the year? Like, am I going in this year super strong, super about it? Or am I just, kind of vibing and coasting through and living life in this sort of like coast? And I think I've found myself in certain moments and areas in life where I have, but I'm learning to be disciplined and looking at this year and saying, you know what, let me finish strong. And so I don't know about you, but those like cheesy, I was going to say Tumblr, but I never had a Tumblr. But those cheesy quotes that you always see? And there was this one quote I saw. I was actually scrolling through Instagram probably like a couple years ago. Had to have been like in 2015, because this is such a 2015 thing to do, where you would like screenshot a quote and then you would put like the vintage effect on it, and then you would post it, and you thought you were like cool because you put this vintage effect and it was zoomed, right? But nonetheless, I remember reading this and it's so cheesy that I feel like when I say it, it's just going to be like, that's gross, and I'm aging the quote when I say it. But nonetheless, someone posted and they said, in terms of like getting your stuff done, they posted and they said, just if you're a girl, or actually like if you have long hair as a guy, but they were like, just put your hair up in a bun, grab a cup of coffee and do it. And I remember reading it and I was like so inspired. I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna put my hair up in a bun today, and then I'm gonna get a cup of coffee, and I'm just gonna handle my business. And I don't know why I'm saying this, but nonetheless, whoever you are, don't finish your year weak. Like don't just coast through the year. You've got 4 weeks left. Like finish it strong, and then get ready to start 2022 strong. Like there's nothing better than starting a chapter knowing you did everything that you had to do in the chapter prior to it. In fact, I remember, okay, a fun fact about me, by the way, I turned 20 5 years ago, because I'm 25, right? And I remember I was hanging out with some buddies of mine, and they came up to me, and it was probably like 2 days before I turned 20, right? And they came up to me and they're like, hey, like, how do you feel you're about to turn 20? And I was like, yo, I feel great. And they asked me this question, and I was like, I answered this question and I walked away, and I was like, bro, I answered that question like right. Like I was like, come on, Nicole, like that was awesome. But anyways, they asked me this question. They're like, how do you feel about everything you did when you were a teenager? And like, what does that look like for you as you go into your 20s, right? And I don't know what it is with people and asking deep questions all the time, but I love it. And so anyways, they asked me this semi-deep question, and I remember I responded to these two girls, and I was like, you know what? Like, here's why I'm so excited to go into my 20s, is because I feel like I did everything I know, like God told me I had to do in my teenage years. Like I don't think I did everything perfectly, and I'll be honest with you, I made far more mistakes and sinned far more times than I can even count, recall, imagine, or whatever. But nonetheless, I feel like at the end of it, I got myself together. I did what I had to do. And when I look back at my teenage years when I was 20, I feel like I'm an old soul sometimes. I was like, dude, like, I feel like I did everything like I needed to do, like God told me to do. And I remember like going into year 20 and even now halfway through my 20s, just feeling so confident at what this next decade like held for me. And so there's just something to me about finishing strong. Like don't be like loose and just whatever, like finish strong. In fact, I don't know if you're a teenager. If you're a teenager listening to this, actually this I feel like goes with anybody who's not just a teenager. If you're a young adult or maybe even an adult, yay, if you are an adult listening to this, shout out to you. But to my teenagers and young adults, I remember when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, I started making like these really hard decisions. Basically, I found myself in this place where I was like, yo, I'm seeing the results of everybody, like all my friends around me, and I'm seeing where their life is leading them, and I really don't like what I'm seeing. Like, you ever like watch, like I'm a people watcher. Like I will literally just like, I'll go to Disneyland and I'll literally just sit at like one of the benches and stuff while people are ordering food, and I'll just like watch. I'll kind of just gaze, and I don't know why, call me weird, whatever, but I love people watching, right? And so in high school, one of the things that I would do is I loved learning from other people's mistakes. I don't know why. I thought, you know what, might as well. In fact, I actually remember this quote. It was like, actually, I don't remember the quote, but it was really good. It was something about like learning from your mistakes, and then, I think it went like something like this, like a wise person learns from their mistakes, and then the wiser person learns from somebody else's mistakes. I don't know if that was a quote, whatever it was, but I remember reading something around that phrase, and I was like, yo, that is so good, right? And so in high school, I literally would watch other people's mistakes because like they would do something, or I would watch their lives. Let me reframe that. I wouldn't watch their mistakes because I honestly didn't think they were mistakes at that time. But I would watch their life, and I would just look, and I would be like, okay, great. So they did that. And then I would see the result of their action. And then I would look at the result of their action, and I'm like, oh, I don't really want that result. Do you know what I mean? And so when I was like 16, like I mentioned, I would watch people, and I'm like, okay, what are they doing? And then what are they like benefiting from what they did, right? And every person, like all my friends that I would watch, and my friends would know this, I would be like, bro, but I don't like that result. Like, I know you're doing that, and I know you think that's cool, and I know you love that, but like, it's leaving you emptier than like you walked into it, right? And so for me, I was like, there's got to be a different, like, there's got to be more. You ever have that question where it's like, there's got to be more to life than what I'm seeing? Does that make sense? And so I was 16, right? And I don't know why I was thinking this way at 16, but I was 16, and I was like, yo, there's got to be more to life than what I'm seeing. Like, high school for me was like both so fun and awesome, but at the same time, like, I was probably at my loneliest place when I was in high school. I struggled with a lot of anxiety and different addictions and stuff like that. And I really was just a hot mess in high school, really going through it with whatever, right? And I remember I was like, dude, there's got to be more to life than what I'm seeing. Like, there's no way. I remember having this conversation with my friend, and I was like, there's no way I could live with anxiety the rest of my life. Like, I am 16 years old. I will not be 50 like dealing with this. I remember like I had the worst anxiety in high school, and that really came from like people pleasing and sports and the pressure of like, you know, owning up and making sure I didn't fail people and then grades and all that stuff like dwindled down to I had a lot of anxiety. And I remember just having a conversation with one of my best friends, and I was like, man, like, there's no way. Like, I can't live life like this. In fact, when I was a sophomore in high school, the first semester of my sophomore year, I quite literally cried myself to sleep almost every single night. It was rough. I was just going through it, right? And I remember thinking, I was like, I can't live like this forever. Like, there's gotta be some light at the end of this tunnel, and there's gotta be something at the end of this tunnel. There's no way life looks like this. And I was asking this question, like, there's got to be more to life. And I remember feeling all these feelings, right? Like, I was anxious, I was insecure, I was going through whatever I was going through. My parents were going through things, and I was just like, the best way I could describe it is like I was a hot mess. I wish I could like rewind my high school years so that I could show you how much of a hot mess I was, but I don't have that power. So just gotta believe me for my word. I was a hot mess, okay? And so then everyone was telling me like, oh, Stark, like, just do this, or like go out to this party, or go with this person and do this and do that. And I remember I was like, okay, that all looks like a good idea, right? They're like, that'll help you with your anxiety. This will help you with that. And all they were telling me to do was numbing something that I was like, this doesn't make any sense. But nonetheless, I watched, right? So I was like, okay, like, let me see, you seem to be doing it, tell me if it works. So like all my friends are doing these things, right? And I was like in the circle trying to figure out, am I gonna like, you know, like partake in everything? And some of the things that they told me to do, I did, sadly, but nonetheless, I did. And I remember just thinking like, this doesn't work. Like I would literally wake up the next morning feeling worse than like the night before. It was like the weirdest thing, right? And I remember I would be in this continuous cycle of I would go to school Monday through Friday, I'd go to practice, do sports, blah, 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 blah. And then I would find this like temporary thing that would numb my anxiety or temporary thing that would numb my, you know, pain or whatever. And every time it failed me. It was like, it's not like this like genius thing, like it just doesn't work, right? And so I remember I would watch all my friends and all of a sudden they started telling me to do more of these things and more of these things. And I got to this place in my life where I was like, bro, like I'm not liking the results I'm seeing. Like there's no way, like this is for sure not helping my anxiety or your anxiety, because we're both sitting here talking about how much we got really bad anxiety, right? This was me talking to my friend and I was like, there's no way this works. And quite honestly, I wasn't really planning on sharing any of this. I don't even have anything on this table, but nonetheless, I'm sharing it. So whoever's listening, maybe this is for you. But if not, it's a conversation we're having. So here goes nothing. But I remember one of my best friends in high school. In fact, I love her, Chelsea Bayham. Shout out to you, girl. Like I'm here today where I'm at today because of you. So love you and thanks, man. But I remember, I think it had to have been, I don't know, one of the years. It couldn't have been freshman. Maybe it was freshman, or maybe it was sophomore. It had to have been sophomore year. So I was a sophomore, and she was like, hey, we got to go to church. And I was like, huh? You know when people talk about church, you're just like, it's like a complete, like, turn off. You're just like, I don't want to hear it. I don't got time to listen to that. Like, give me another outlet for something, right? And she was like, I'm telling you, Nicole, like, just come to church. And so as my best friend, you know, she forced me to go. So I remember going, and I remember sitting in the back, right? She actually took me to her church's purity conference, and I think it was called like True Love Waits. I think that's what it was called. And I was like, girl, not only did you take me to church, but you took me to a purity conference. Like, you have lost your mind. And I remember sitting there, and I was in the back, and I arms crossed like this, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna kill her. Like, I can't believe Chelsea would take me here. And she took me and another friend of ours. And I remember sitting there, and I can't tell you like this whole crazy thing happened. I can't tell you like I heard God for the first time. I got nothing like that. Like, to me, was like there was nothing that I felt was crazy other than I felt peace. I was just like, oh man, like maybe there is something, maybe there is something here. And quite honestly, that started a lot of why I'm here today, because for the first time, like ever in a really, really, really long time, I was sitting in this church service, and I had peace. I was like, yo, this is different. And I wish I could tell you though that when I came home that night, like my whole life changed. It didn't. Like, I kind of just went back to my normal lifestyle until my mom was driving one day. I actually remember she was driving on the 60 freeway, and she like was in her minivan, and she turned to me and she's like, we need to go back to church. And I'm like, why is everyone telling me to go to church? Like, where did this all like come from, you know? And I was like, Mom, I'm fine. Meanwhile, I'm like crying myself to sleep every single night. I'm like, Mom, I'm fine. I've got life under control, yada, yada, yada. And she's like, no, we have to go back to church. And I was like, tripping, right? But I go again. I think these were like in increments of like 2 months, right? But I go back nonetheless. And I'm sitting in the second row. Yeah, that's right. I moved up rows. I'm sitting in the second row, and I remember this lady was preaching, and I sat there, and I'm not even gonna cap, bro. I started tearing up, and I grew up trained to like not cry. Like, that's what it felt like, right? And I remember I started tearing up, and I was like, oh my gosh, like what's happening? Like, what's going on? And I left. And that day like marked me, like changed me. I think I was 14 or 15 years old. And And again, like I didn't do all these crazy changes, but little by little, like I started to like read my Bible and do my devos and spend time with God. And I stopped looking at church like this religious thing, because I think so many of us, including myself, right? Like we look at church and we're like, oh man, this is like this religious thing, and you've got to abide by rules, and you've got to do these things before you can even go to and we feel like we have to put this facade, because that's what I thought it was. Like I've got to be perfect so that God doesn't yell at me, because I feel like he's gonna like punish me for how I've been living my life, you know? And I remember like my whole perspective changed, where it wasn't this religious thing, but it was this relational thing, that Jesus didn't come to like, you know, I don't know, whack me or something and tell me how horrible of a life I'm living, but he came to love me and then set me free from the sin and the lifestyle that I was living. And so it was like such a perspective shift, because all of a sudden the answer to the question that I had of there's no way life is supposed to be like this, or there's no way life was meant to be like this, was like answered, all by simply, and I don't even know why I'm talking about this, but all by simply giving God a shot. Like that's all I did. And trust me, like I wish like there was like a screen behind me so I could play my life, because it wasn't this like, oh my goodness, like it wasn't religious. Like I hope you're hearing me. I don't know if that's coming across this way, but it wasn't like I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this and then I'm going to be accepted. It was just like, come as you are. Like your messed up self, your broken self, your sinful, just come as you are, because Jesus loves you for who you are. And then I love this, that he loves you so much that he won't leave you in your mess and in your sin, but he'll walk you to freedom. And so crazy enough, it didn't happen like in over a day, but it happened through just, you know, my walk with Jesus, where I was just like, I found myself again sitting at this church service, right? Crazy, I know. And broken, you know, addicted to things, insecure, anxious every single day. Like I literally would have like chest pains on my chest. Like I felt like there's a ton of bricks on my chest, right? And in this process of high school and even going into my young adulthood of just not looking at Jesus as like a religion, so to speak, where it's like, oh, I have to do this, and if I don't do this, I'm not going to do this, but like, hey, like, I want to know you more. You know, I feel like I tell people like the same way you have a relationship with your friend in terms of like talking to them and knowing them is the same way with Jesus. Like he just wants to know you. But in order to know someone, you have to spend time with them. Does that make sense? And so it's as practical as literally just going into your room or somewhere where you're alone and just saying like, hey, like I'm here. In fact, one of my most like, I don't know why I'm saying this either, but one of my most rawest like moment, I think, was I was so frustrated. I was 16, so frustrated. I closed this door behind me and I was in this room by myself. And I remember I looked up and I screamed. I was like, God, like if you're real, then I need you to show up, because I'm so broken. And I remember I just got to this like real place in my life and I was frustrated, to say the least. And you know, God's not afraid of your frustration, and he's not afraid of your emotions. Like he's not like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they hate. Like he's not afraid of that. He just wants you to be honest with him, right? So I literally shut the door and I was like yelling. I was like, I just need help, right? And I don't know, I found myself in this place and in this spot, and I found the answer to the question. There has to be more to life than what I'm seeing. There's no way life is supposed to be just anxiety written, depressed written, like panic attacks. Like I dealt with panic attacks. Like there's no way life is just meant to be like that. There has to be more. And here's what I discovered. There is. And it's found in Jesus. Like there is so much life. In fact, life is found in him, in Jesus. And so I don't know who's listening to this, or maybe you're watching this, but I want to encourage you, man, to not take Jesus as a religion, but if you don't even know him, like honestly, turn this off, because you don't even need to hear me anymore, but just literally like ask him like, hey, if you're real, would you show up in my life? And I guarantee you this, he will, if you're open to it. Oftentimes we're not open to it because we're just like, whatever. You like, you know what I mean? Like when my friend invited me to church the first time, I practically shut her out. I was like, girl, I don't want to hear it. Like there's no way it's going to work. And when I was open to it and I just gave it a shot, all of a sudden my whole life was like changed. And now I'm 25 and I'm far from 15 years old, 10 years. It's kind of wild to me. But I'm 25, not perfect, going through stuff still, but man, I'm not alone. And the anxiety and all that stuff, man, Jesus just walked me through some things of freedom and that pressure on my chest. I remember the first night where I went to bed, that there was no weight feeling on my chest. Like I went to bed at peace and knowing I was loved. It was the craziest thing. And so the answer that I've discovered to the question that I didn't even know I was asking myself, is there more to life? 15-year-old Nicole, yeah, there is. And the way to find the answer, listen, just hear me out here, okay? Look at everybody around us. There's no way what everybody else is doing seems to be working. There's no way, as fun as parties may be, as fun as culture may portray these things to be like the end all, like everyone needs to do, as fun as that is, at the end of the day, is it really curing us or is it just numbing us? Is it really setting us free or is it just putting us in this cycle of like temporary hope, temporary satisfaction? Because that's what I found myself in. Like there's no way those things work. As fun as it is and as cool as it may look, at the end of the day, it leaves me more broken, more hurt, and more lost. And I don't know why I'm talking about this, but the answer to the question, again, to 15-year-old Nicole Stark, is there is. And it's found in Jesus. And I'm telling you, he'll satisfy you. He'll satisfy you unlike any other thing that you can find. Like, that's who he is. And so, anyways, I kind of came into this week's episode without anything, and I'm leaving with this conversation. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. Other than that, this has been fun. I'm loving it. We're going to start having guests, I think, going into maybe not next week's episode, but as we go into more episodes, we're going to start bringing guests in so we can have our private conversations in public, because I'm excited about that one. Alrighty. Other than that, let me think here. I think that's it. There's more to life than what you're seeing, friends, and it's found in him. And so pursue Jesus, be open to him, give him a shot. Don't take it so seriously. Don't be weird. Okay, don't be a weird Christian. Just love Jesus and love people. Very simple, and go for it. I'm telling you, there's more to life than what you're seeing. The best days aren't just ahead. In fact, they're here. Open up your eyes. So I think that's all I've got to say. I love you. I hope you have the greatest week ever whenever you're listening to this. And hey, Merry Christmas. Kind of crazy, but anywho, that's it. All right. Peace. Bye.